bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. Tomorrow, just wait and see. There'll be love and there'll be laughter and peace forever after. Tomorrow, when the world is free, the shepherd will tend the sheep. The valley will bloom again, and darling will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. Tomorrow, just wait and see.
Hello. There we go. Hello, my name is Shakayla Alvarenga. I'm the Director of Public Programs here at the Mob Museum. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Sunday here in Las Vegas for our Community Safety Forum. It really is a pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's program, Tim Szymanski, the Public Information Officer of Las Vegas Fire and Rescue. He has done hundreds of speeches on this very topic with the hope of raising awareness for fire safety. So with that said, please welcome to the podium, Tim Szymanski.
Thanks, sir. Okay, you can hear me well, right? Okay. So first let me say I want to thank the Mob Museum and Nevada Energy for asking me to speak here today. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. This is going to be one of the highlights of my career. My good friend Oscar Goodman was mayor. We are very close friends. And I read his book, and it starts off where he started off his career, and it was in this building. And I often thought about it. Now I'm in the place where he wrote about. And then it was his dream to make this into a museum. And a lot of people thought it was a joke. But it went overnight. It got extremely popular, and I believe it's one of the 10 best museums in the United States now. And I know anytime anybody comes to town, I always recommend, they say, where should we go tonight? You know, should I go to this show? Should I go to that show? And so you got to go down and see the Mob Museum. And there isn't a person that comes back that says, that was one of the best things that I'd ever done. So I just want to say it's a privilege to be here, and I'm honored for my good friend Oscar Goodman for making this thing work. He says he would, and he did. So it's Fire Prevention Week, and I want to start off by talking, first of all, I've been in the fire service for 51 years. This is my 51st year. Over a half a century, I have been going to fires. Worked outside of Cleveland, Ohio for almost 10 years. Went to Atlanta and was there for nearly 20 years, and I was the emergency fire spokesperson for the 1996 Olympics. I was actually fire chief for another community, and my specialty is working with the media. And they says, we need you to come to Atlanta and be the spokesperson for the single biggest peacetime media event in history. So I quit my fire chief's job and went to work for my friend who was fire chief Atlanta and stayed for the Olympics. And while I was just before the Olympics, I got a telephone call from the city of Las Vegas, and they asked me if I would come out here and be their first spokesperson. And I thought it was a joke. I hung up on them, but they brought me out here, and this is my 25th year with the city of Las Vegas and my 51st year. What's the bottom line? I've been to a lot of fires in 51 years. I still go to fires. Since I graduated from high school, I've had an emergency radio or an emergency phone next to my head while I slept at night every day for 51 years. I still get up in the middle of the night, and I still get up and go on calls. I don't fight the fire. I tell stories about them. I'm an arson investigator. I like to see what caused the fires. I help our investigators. But it's one thing about this job I learned, just when you think you've seen it all, you go to that next call, and that one beats the last one. It's like that television show Emergency in the 70s. They didn't write those shows. Everything that happened at that TV show was true. When they had their first meeting, they told the producers and the writers, we want you to go out all over the country and bring back the wildest stories you can about fires. And the writers were insulted because they says, we write shows. But they went out for 6 months and they came back and they says, you can't make this stuff up. This is unbelievable what we've seen. And that's the great part of my job, is seeing it. The other part of my job is to teach people of what I learned, how to prevent fires. So the one main week is Fire Prevention Week, and it's always the week of October the 9th. Whenever October the 9th is in that week period, which was yesterday, so it's technically today, that is Fire Prevention Week. And why is that? Because of the Great Chicago Fire, which actually started on October 8th, 1871, which burned for 3 days. But on October the 9th, there was even a bigger fire in Peshtigo, Wisconsin, that killed over 1,000 people that night. And then the fire was raging in Chicago at the same time, which took 3 days to put out. And they brought fire engines from as far as St. Louis and New York. They loaded them up on rail cars to go put the fire out because the city was made up of mostly wood, and it was an extremely dry summer. And the story goes it was because of the O'Leary's cow and their barn. The McLaughlins and the O'Learys was having a little party on Saturday night, and they didn't milk the cow. And if you don't milk the cow, they get upset and they kick the lantern over in the barn, and it caught the barn on fire. And it was extremely dry and windy that night, and the fire spread throughout the city, and it took 3 days to go out. In 1920, the President of the United States proclaimed October the 9th to be Fire Prevention Day, and then Calvin Coolidge, who was president in 1925, says we're going to make it a week of whatever October the 9th is. And he made the first proclamation in 1925, and they proclaimed it every year ever since. It is the longest public safety awareness campaign in U.S. history, Fire Prevention Week. And the spot where the O'Leary's cow started the fire is the center of the Chicago Fire Department's training center. And if you go to our Facebook page, I got a picture of a tile that they have, and they have a little monument there in the exact same spot where that fire started. And it was just a few years ago that the city council in Chicago exonerated the cow and Moses and Mrs. O'Leary for the fire. So that's why we're doing Fire Prevention Week. It's our biggest week to get out there. But I'm going to talk about what fire is and what you should do to prevent fires, because it's not if you're going to have a fire, it's when you're going to have a fire. Everybody has a fire at least one time in their life. So we already talked. It says about 4,000 people die annually in the United States, and about 30,000 are injured because of fires. About 95% of those deaths occur in the home, the place where you feel the most safe. I have been to every fatal fire since I moved to Las Vegas in August of 1996. I went there and I put my eyes on it. I wanted to see why that person died. And it doesn't happen in hotels, casinos, doesn't happen in businesses. Occasionally 95, I would say maybe 99% of them occur at home. When you go to bed at night, you feel really safe. This is where you go when you want to get away from it. And that's where the people are dying. It's at home. Because that's where all the things happen, is in the home. About 4,000 people. I think it's down to about maybe 3,200 a year in the United States. And with the population ever increasing, that's pretty good numbers, because back in 1925 or 1920, when the president proclaimed it, about 15,000 to 20,000 people a year were dying in the United States because of fires. And population was probably only a third of what it is today. So by the numbers, we're doing pretty good. But fire causes more damage than all other natural disasters combined. If you add up hurricanes, tornadoes, everything, and add them up, Fires in the United States cause more damage every day. So let's talk about what is the cause of fires. Well, the number one cause of fires in Las Vegas, in the United States, and in the world, because during the Olympics, I had dinner with a lot of fire chiefs from around the world. I wanted to talk to them and learn what was going on. And it's cooking. And why is that? We cook all the time. That's what we do. Las Vegas is a little bit different than other cities, and that's because we are a 24-hour city. Most cooking fires occur about 4 to 7, 8 p.m. in most cities. Cooking fires occur 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in this town, and many of them have been fatal. We have people cooking French fries at 2 o'clock in the morning. Had a lady recently that was seriously burned. We took to the hospital because of, I've never heard of this before, roast ice cream or baked ice cream or something. I don't know, you fry it or something of that nature. And that's because when people get off shift at the casinos or the hotels at 11 o'clock, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. is their 5 p.m. to most common people. That's when they live. Unattended cooking is the major reason. When you cook, you stand at the stove and you cook. Stand by your pan. That's what we tell people. So that way you can shut it off if something happens. But we go and we read emails, we run to the mailbox, we get sidetracked in that. And when the fire starts, you're not right there to take care of it. Burning grease on the stove is worse than gasoline on fire. I'd rather have a pan of gasoline on fire than cooking grease. And you have to be there right then and there to put that fire out. And the easiest way is to shut off the stove and take the lid of the pan, a cookie sheet, something flat, and just drop it on that pan and shut off the oxygen supply. That is the easiest, fastest way to put that fire out. Don't ever throw water on a cooking fire. That creates like a nuclear bomb, seriously. If you throw 1 bottle of water onto that fire, a drinking bottle, you will have 450 bottles come back at you faster than you can blink your eye. And you'll be engulfed in fire because it has turned to steam and it expanded that fast. And it'll burn you seriously, and you will be in the burn unit for a long time. Don't throw salt, sand, sugar, baking soda, all those other things. None of those work. Don't ever try to lift a pan and take it to the sink or outside. We see people do all kinds of, that thing will be so hot, as soon as you pick it up, you will drop it and that grease will splash and everything will catch on fire, including you. The best way is to stand there and shut it off and put something over the pan. We go on cooking fires every single day. Every day. There's probably 4 to 6 cooking fires in the Las Vegas Valley every day. Most of them are what we call the pot on the stove, where the meat was burned up or the people forgot to shut the eye off all the way. Some of the precautions you can take, and that's why I'm here, is to tell you, is first of all, stay by the stove when you cook. When you're done cooking, take everything off the stove. I know you're tired, we don't want to clean up, you finish cooking, you sit down, you have dinner, there's still the pans on there where you took the spaghetti out or the steak or whatever. Take them and set them in the sink. It can't catch fire if it's not on the stove. And even if you brush up against the knob on the stove, that grease is not going to catch fire. You know, another one is, a lot of people got pets. You wouldn't believe how many fires we go to where the cat or the dog try to get up there and lick the pan while it's up there and their paw comes down and turns it on fire. And we've been on some very, very serious fires because if it's in the sink, if they get in there and they're not going to mess anything up. The stove is not a place where you set things down on. We used to have a lot of fires where people were moving here, especially around the mid-90s when we were the fastest growing area in the United States. People were setting boxes on the stove and things of that nature. And some of those with the electric stoves, they didn't know that the eye was on. The power company would turn the power on. And that's why we say don't put anything on there. Even I just did it maybe a year ago. I set some shopping bags down on there and I shouldn't have done it. I knew I was doing it wrong, but I pushed against the knob and it started. And on the bottom of the bag was a bag of potato chips. And it's unbelievable how fast a bag of potato chips will go up. And luckily it didn't do any damage. That right there is about a $50,000 to $75,000 damage fire, and you will be out of your home 6 to 9 months while it's being repaired. Microwave fires are starting to increase. They're like a car. They have to be maintained. Follow directions on the packaging. If you're having troubles with your microwave, get rid of it and buy a new one. They're only $100. But we are seeing an increase in the number of microwave fires. Microwave fires are no longer allowed in classrooms in the schools. They can only be in the teachers' lounges. And it was because a lot of times people were burning up food inside the microwave and setting off the smoke alarms and things of that nature. But don't read the directions. Don't put aluminum foil, utensils, anything inside the microwave. They have to be maintained. Even big commercial microwaves, they've started commercial establishments on fire because of poor maintenance. This is the number 2 cause of fires in Las Vegas, number 3 in the rest of the United States, but in Las Vegas, it is the number 2, and it's unbelievable. Electrical fires cause more damage than all the other forms of fires combined. And that's because we just have so much electricity now. 50 years ago when I got into the business, there wasn't anywhere near as much electrical items as there was in the bedroom. You had a clock radio if you were really rich. Most of us had the wind-up alarm clock. A lamp, that was it. Now what do you have in a bedroom? Computers, exercise machines, TVs mounted to the screens, telephone chargers, devices, chargers for devices now. We won't even go there. And then we all got those strips. I'll talk about those strips in a few minutes. We have a fire in a bedroom now. I can come out with a clunk of copper like this from all the electrical devices that are in the bedroom. It's just so prevalent in our life. And the wiring that connects all of it together. And I tell people wiring is actually snakes. It's not if you're going to get bit, it's when you're going to get bit. And I go out and preach this, and in 2013, my house caught fire. And we weren't home, luckily. And it was electrical in nature. And I was following all the rules and changing out the equipment and putting new equipment in and everything. I'll show you a picture of it in just a minute. But I was it was my day off, and my wife was with me in the car. I was taking her to the office, and the phone rang, and it says fire alarm office. That's 911. So I answered it, and I talked for a few minutes. I got off, and she says, "Where do you have to go this time?" And I says, "You're never going to believe it. Our house is on fire." Well, I didn't need a siren on the car because she was screaming so loud. Let's go home, that we got there, and we got back in time to see our house on fire. The whole fire department. I told them on the phone, "You got to be joking." And they says, "No, there's a red van in the driveway. We can hear your dogs howling. And neighbor says there's thick black smoke coming out the back of your house." And I remember seeing the neighbors at the end of the driveway. As a matter of fact, I even seen the fire engine go into our house. I had no idea our house was on fire. It's unbelievable the wiring, this stuff. I'm going to write a book when I retire on what I see just on electrical wiring. People just they try to do it themselves. Don't do it. Let a certified electric technician do it. We had one guy trying to rewire his house. His wife went to turn on the dryer, and the air conditioning in the attic exploded. Obviously he didn't hook up the right wires. This is not a made-up picture. This is something that I actually saw. And that's just a disaster there waiting to happen. This is a typical circuit breaker box, and the reason I show this is circuit breakers are there to protect you. When a circuit breaker goes off, a lot of people go out there and just reset it, and everything goes back on, and they say everything is fine. Circuit breakers do not trip off accidentally. The circuit breaker that goes off is telling you a fire was about to start, and I stopped it from happening. If you reset it and you don't figure out why it was clicked off, you're given permission for the fire to proceed. You need to find out why it clicked. So in my house, if a circuit breaker goes off, I can't sleep the rest of the night. I'll be up the rest of the night trying to figure out what happened. Usually you can. You can find out what it was. It was a space heater, an extension cord, a frayed wire or something. But if a circuit breaker goes off, you need to check why. You'll see some of these on the newer homes. This was put on my home just after the fire. Our house was built in 1994. We had $150,000 damage, so everything from the ceiling on the first floor up was replaced. And these were added to bring it up to the 2012 code, which is the year that we had our fire was 2013. Those are arc fault protectors, and those are pretty exciting because if anything sparks, the circuit where that is, that'll click off too. If it sparks, it will shut it off. So a lot of times things will spark and it will not prevent the circuit breaker to go off, but it's throwing sparks that can catch anything close by combustible on fire. So the first time we moved into our house, sometimes when you have an older vacuum cleaner, when you click it on, you can hear it spark, or once in a while you'll hear a switch. We had to go out and buy a new vacuum cleaner because those were to the upstairs circuits, the bedrooms. And that's what the code called for at that particular time. It's pretty exciting, but until you get it all figured out, you're not going to be able to reset it until you can figure out what's causing the sparks. This is a ground fault protector, and you're going to see this anytime there's an electrical outlet within 6 feet of a water source. It has to be on a GFI, ground fault interrupter circuit. So the code used to be if you put one on a circuit, everything on that circuit is protected. The new code says that every outlet has to be a GFI if it's near water. So you're going to see this in the bathroom, in the kitchen, certain areas on a garage, the circuits outside and that. And that's for, like in the movies, when they wanted to kill somebody, they would throw the radio in a bathtub and the guy would get electrocuted when he was taking a bath. Well, that thing would immediately kick it off. So if things are not working in your house, check your GFI first. And all you have to do is just hit that little reset button. There's a test button on there. And then you can hit the black one to reset it, and that'll turn the circuit back on. And then check your circuit breaker to see if maybe that tripped. But sometimes those will go off. They're extremely sensitive, and if water splashes up, if you're cleaning the patio and a little water from the garden hose gets up on it, the circuits now have to have a cover on them, but some of the older houses don't. It'll kick the GFI off, and you need to be really careful. You need to check it because sometimes you have the freezer, the refrigerator might be on that circuit, and if the power's off, they'll start defrosting. These are power strips. These are extremely popular now. So this is what I learned about my fire in my house. In the average bedroom, you have 4 outlets. The wire going to that will carry enough power to power those 4 outlets. When you add a power strip, you added another 6 outlets. And then we have people that will take a power strip and plug it into a power strip. We call that a piggyback. And sometimes they'll have 3 of them. They can have up to 18 power outlets going into one that was made for 2, okay? You can only put 10 pounds of groceries in a 10-pound bag. And when you overload them, they can catch a fire. We see a lot of fires. This is a real inexpensive one. And when you take it apart to look at the inside, it is really scary. It's really flimsy stuff. It's not like the outlet that you have in the wall, which is made with real good materials. So what's the bottom line? You need to spend a few bucks and get a really good power strip. That other one there, I think I paid 10 bucks for. This one here, I paid 100 bucks for it. It's got a built-in circuit breaker, which will shut itself off. It's also protected against surges. Anytime your lights blink, that's a power surge coming through. All of this electronic equipment that we use today, our computers, our flat screen TVs in the fine print, if you read it, it says if you are not on a Power strip that is rated for power surges, to prevent power surges, you voided the warranty on your TV set. So, you know, when you used to play with the garden hose and the water would come out of the garden hose and it would be coming out in a steady stream, and somebody would go over there and they would crimp the hose so the water would go off. And then you opened up the hose back up again, and there would be that big spurt of water that would come out, and then it would start coming out regularly again like it was. Well, that's what happens in electricity, and that spurt of water going out is a power surge. And all this delicate electronic equipment that we have, these little circuits, ICs, cannot take that surge. And the surge protector prevents the surge from going through. We have a lot of car accidents in this town. And if they hit a transformer box, you'll see your lights flash like 3 times. It's a safety device on the transformers. Maybe there's a branch that's going on there. So the computers on a circuit for the power company on NV Energy will let it go 3 times. 3rd strike, it shuts down the system. It just says, I don't know if that's a school bus that ran into a power box, because maybe it was a branch and it won't touch again. But each time, that's a surge going out. What's the bottom line? You want to get a really good surge protector with a circuit breaker built in. And this is for like the television set, telephone chargers, things of that nature. It's not for appliances. You never plug appliances into an extension cord or into a power strip. They have to be plugged directly into the wall. They need the full amperage to come out. So here's an example of extension cords. The bottom one is a typical lamp cord, which costs maybe $3 or $4. That's made to light 100 watt light bulb. That's about it. The other one there is a beefed up extension cord. You can use that to power something that is a little bit more substantial. It's always the smaller cord goes into the bigger cord. But you'll have appliances that has a big cord like the yellow cord, like coming off a refrigerator or a space heater or something of that nature, and people will use the smaller cord for an extension cord. Well, that big cord means it's trying to suck a lot of power, and you're trying to squeeze it through that little wire, and that causes friction. And when you have that friction, it heats up the insulation on the wire. It gets really hot. It can melt, and it'll start a fire. The deal with extension cords is you want them as short as possible, as big as possible. And the rule of thumb is if you use an extension cord for over 30 days, it should be replaced, and a wall socket should be installed by a certified electrician to put it in there. Candles. Candle fires are kind of down, but it's unbelievable where we see candles in closets, for shrines, religious purposes, things of that nature. People, this is old-fashioned. I was discussing it with a lot of people this week during Fire Prevention Week. Electronic LED candles is the way to go. Even religious places like churches and that, they are converting to electronic candles. It's just too dangerous to use. That should never be used for electric lighting. We used it years ago when the lights went out 50 years ago. Never should use that. If you have a candle, you got to have 12 inches all the way around it, a substantial distance above it. People put them on their tables for like Thanksgiving, holidays, things like that. You can get the same ambiance with an electronic candle. And there's zero clearance, which means you can put fake leaves and everything around an electronic candle, and it's not going to start a fire. I have one in our bedroom that starts up. They have timers. They have remote controls. They put out fragrances now. They have different colors. But we got one in our bedroom that starts up every night at 10 p.m. and it stays lit until like 4 p.m. or 4 a.m. It's like a little night light. And it's really nice. But this is not the way to go anymore. But careless smoking is the leading cause of fatal fires. 60% of the people that have died in the last 50 years in Las Vegas was smoking related. It continues to be the leading cause of fatal fires. So we started to see fires, smoking related, going down over the years, and it was people didn't want the smoke inside their house and they didn't want the smell and things of that nature. And then all of a sudden it spiked back up. How come it spiked back up? What's that? No. What's everybody smoking now? Weed. Weed. And what does the law say? It says you have to smoke it in the house. Technically, that's what the law says. So when it first came out, everybody was following it by the rules. They were smoking it in the house. And it's different for us, too. You go in there and it's weed, and it's like, well, you don't call the cops no more. It's legal. You know, now people smoke pot everywhere. But there was an increase in the number of smoking-related fires, and it started to decrease again because people are just smoking it wherever they want. The one place you don't want to smoke, and it's the most popular place in the house to smoke, is the garage. The garage is the most dangerous room in your house. It is built different than the rest of your house. Different materials were made to build a garage. It has special sheetrock wallboard, which is called type X, which is more fire resistant. Doesn't that door slam going from the garage into the house? It closes. That is a fire-rated door, like in a business or a hotel. And it's got a closure on it. Because if we tell you to keep the garage door closed, you won't do it. So the code requires, at least here in Las Vegas, that door's got to slam shut. Because the most dangerous things in your home are located in the garage. Pesticides, insecticides, gasoline, vehicles, everything really bad is out in the garage. If the garage catches on fire, we want it to stay in the garage. We don't want it to go inside the living area of the house. And 99.9% of the time it works. And people go out there and they smoke. And it's become, for seniors, it's become the man cave, the lady cave. And they go out there and that's where they smoke, and they put tables and they have little tables with candles on it and that. That's not, you're not that. Ever notice that the outlets are real high? The water heater is off the floor on a pedestal now. It is higher than the height that gasoline fumes can go. Gasoline fumes can only go to 30 inches above the floor. So in the old days, the water heater was on the floor, and people would go out in the garage in the dark and they would accidentally kick over the gas can for the lawnmower, and the fumes would go right to the water heater and it would be an explosion, or the car was leaking gas. Now everything is above the level where gasoline fumes can go to, and the code requires that there's vents on the floor so they can go out. But yet people go out there and they smoke. Actually, it's no different than a gas station. If it was up to me, the code would require that you have no smoking signs in the garage, because that is the most dangerous room in the house. It's careless smoking. I tell people the best thing to do with smoking is when you're done, put some water in it. In Europe, it's required that ashtrays have water in it. Don't put it in the trash. Don't throw it outside. I don't think cars have ashtrays anymore, do they? But it's against the law to throw your cigarette butt out in Las Vegas. It's a $90 fine. And they start lots of fires, big fires. I've seen houses burned down because of somebody throwing a cigarette butt out on the street. You know how windy it gets here. Tomorrow, cigarette butt will roll along and catch that house on fire. It's unbelievable how fast it'll go. Careless smoking is still leading cause. Children playing with matches. 60% of arson fires in the United States are the result of children playing with matches. And a match or a lighter in the hands of a child is more deadly than a gun. Think about it. And I can tell you through my career, we usually have multiple deaths. 2, most of the time 3 kids die at the same time because of matches. And it's because they're hiding, because they're afraid they're going to be punished. Kid playing with a gun usually kills one other kid. Matches and lighters, usually 2, but most of the times, and I found kids when I lifted the bed up, there was 3 little kids underneath that bed, and it was Christmas. Fully preventable. You wouldn't leave a gun laying out. Matches and lighters should be locked away someplace. If you don't know where the matches and lighters are in your house, ask the kids. They'll tell you. They know where it's at. Combustibles too close to a heat source. Anything that can start a fire should be 36 inches away. So there's a space heater. There's a guy with a toaster. He put the shoe on it. He's got a fan. That's his makeshift heater. There's just all kinds. Anything that creates heat should be 36 inches away from anything that can burn. That's the rule of thumb. This is a water heater. Water heaters are pretty safe now, but still 36 inches all the way around. So real fast, what is fire? It's combustion. So fire, if you slow it all the way down, it turns into rust. Rust is fire, slowed down. And then if it's real fast, it's an explosion. We need to have 4 elements: heat, fuel, oxygen, and the chemical chain reaction, which causes the fire tetrahedron. That's what we do for a living. When we go to a fire, we figure out which one of those 4 sides we're going to take away to make the fire go out. Generally, we remove the heat. If we lower something below its burning temperature, it'll go out. We use water. Wood, 500 to 700 degrees. Use 60-degree water from the fire hydrant. It's going to go below 500 degrees. The fire is going to go out. It produces light, heat, gas, and smoke. There's 3 stages of a fire. The very beginning fire, the baby, you drop the cigarette butt, it stays inside the cigarette. The cigarette stays inside the trash can. It grows, it gets out of the trash can, starts taking over the room. That's called the free burning stage. Within about 3 to 7 minutes today, which it used to be 15 to 17 minutes 50 years ago, the room will be fully engulfed and flashover will occur. The temperature will be 1,500 degrees and everything no one survives a flashover. And then it goes into the smoldering stage. At the ceiling, in a room that's on fire, the temperature will be over 1,000 degrees. At this level, between 400 and 800 degrees. At the floor, between 90 and 130 degrees. The coolest place is on the floor. If you are standing up at this level, like we are, one breath will be hotter than your oven could ever be. And if you breathe in a breath of air 150 degrees or above, you'll singe the inside of your lungs and you won't be able to take another breath. It produces deadly gases, carbon monoxide, hydrogen cyanide, sulfur, all kinds. Those gases, they form at the ceiling and they start to bank down. But carbon monoxide is the most dangerous gas, a tasteless, odorless, invisible gas in which your body will absorb 200 times faster than oxygen. Our body loves the poison gas more than oxygen. Anything that has a flame produces carbon monoxide gas, including your stove at home. But it is the smoke that kills you. So the smoke will fill a room from ceiling to floor. You cannot breathe in it. It's like being underneath water. So if you have a fire in your home, the coolest place and the cleanest air is going to be on the floor. You need to get down on your belly and you need to crawl out until you get outside and keep your nose down there. That's where the coolest, cleanest air is going to be. So firefighter, we go in there dressed like this here. How can we go into smoke? We wear scuba gear. We wear the exact same thing scuba divers wear. The air tank on the back is actually air in it. We wear a mask instead of putting the thing in our mouth. And we get down on the floor and we crawl just like that because this gear is good to maybe 700 degrees. It can't stand 1,000 degree heat. And we crawl in there. So that's where we want you to be. If there's a fire in your home and you're trying to escape, you need to get down on the floor immediately. If you have a fire, rescue anybody that's in the line of fire. So if you're in your house, pull the people out with you. You need to escape. Get out of the house as quickly as you can. Close any doors that you go through. Before you go through a door, the door is the best piece of fire equipment in a building. It will stop spread of cancerous smoke, which will kill you, and the heat and the flames. So before you open the door, always take the back of your hand and feel the door. You're feeling for a fever. You feel for a fever with the back of your hand. If the door is hot, don't open the door. Mr. Fire is on the other side of the door. He is waiting for you to unlatch it. When you do that, there will be a tremendous explosion known as a backdraft, and that whole room will be engulfed. Anytime you're trying to escape from a fire, close the door. You put another barrier up so when fire alarms go off in a building, all I want to hear is doors slamming. It is the best piece of equipment. You are confining the fire. Buildings today are little boxes put together to make a big box. You want to keep it to a minimum of the little boxes. The rooms. Turn in the alarm. In Las Vegas, the only way that you can call in a fire is to call 911. Don't social text us, social media text us. You can text if it is an emergency, you can text the 911, but you should call us because everything is run off computers now, and when you call 911, our computers are already alerting fire crews because it determines where you're calling from. The bells are going off before you even say anything. The little red boxes that you see in halls and buildings and things of that nature, that only tells the people to get out of the building, that it's on fire. It does not alert the fire department. You have to call 911. The casinos, the airport, the hospitals, everybody has to call and talk to us on the telephone. Call from a safe place, which is outside the house, not inside the house. Don't call us while you're trying to escape. Concentrate on escaping first. Get outside. Give us your name, your phone number, where you're calling. Stay calm. Tell us what's going on and ask the dispatchers, when the dispatchers ask you questions, answer all of them because they're typing in on a computer and we all have a TV screen in our rig and every person that's coming to your house is reading what you're saying on that computer screen. So we can hit the ground running when we get to your house. They don't have to read it to us over the radio. We're reading it as you're talking. Don't hang up until the dispatcher tells you to hang up. Sometimes people get mad at us. They ask a lot of questions. Don't do that. Just get to the root of the problem. Tell us what's going on. So, okay, so I'm going to play a video. So before I show you this video, let me just tell you what's going on. I made this for Fox 5. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You can start the video. I made this for Fox 5, and it was to tell kids how to have a fire drill in the home during the pandemic. So my grandkids made this video up for me, and I'm explaining that since you can't do it in school, kids have fire drills every month in the school, you should be doing it at home because this is where the fire fatalities are occurring. So I'm explaining right there what's going on. And the first thing that I did was I made 2 bedrooms. One of them with a fire sprinkler and one was a regular bedroom. And I just put things inside the bedroom that you would commonly find in the average bedroom. And I put this together down at the fire training center. This is my office. I keep up with everything that's going on. And I'm going to show you that room in just a second. A couple other things that I didn't tell you is you cannot smell smoke at night when you go to sleep. Your nose goes to sleep with you. So that's why it's so important that you have the smoke alarm. The smoke alarm's a giant nose, and it's constantly sniffing the air. And when the smoke alarm goes off, it's saying, roll out of bed, get on the floor, and crawl outside to safety. And everybody needs to know that because they think that your kids will not wake to a smoke alarm unless you do what you're about to see, which we're going to demonstrate here. Because they don't know what the sound of a smoke alarm is. If you don't show them and let them listen to what the sound of that smoke alarm is, they're not going to wake up. So here's the bedroom that I made, and there's a little bit of a fire in a wastebasket. A carelessly discarded cigarette caught the wastebasket on fire. I want you to see how quickly this room engulfs in flames. So it's only been it's not even been 20 seconds, and the smoke is already down to the bed. And these are things that I just bought at Bed Bath & Beyond and things of that nature. No, nothing in there, no gasoline, no nothing, no exposed wood. You can see now the smoke that's going up would be going down the hallway into the other rooms of the house. And the reason it's going down lower is I got a piece of plexiglass. But do you see that clear spot? So here the kids are showing you. You want them to know what the sound of the smoke alarm is, so you can take a broomstick or a handle or something and make the smoke alarm go off so they can hear it. This is the drill. This is what you want to practice at home. So the smoke alarm is going off. And remember that smoke is all the way down to the floor. It's going down to the floor. You don't know where it is at home. So they hear the smoke alarm. So gently roll out of bed onto the floor. And you crawl to get out of the house. He feels the door before he opens it up. It's cool, so he can open the door and he goes down. And I'm always asked by kids in school, what if I'm in the top bunk of the bunk bed? You go down the ladder. You don't roll out of bed on the ladder. And then they always ask. And then when they get to the stairwells, remember, this will be completely thick with black smoke you won't be able to see. Face down, feet first. Down. And everybody's just concentrating on escaping. You wouldn't be able to see any of this. It would be completely dark. It could be daylight. And it would be pitch black in there because of that black smoke. And we're probably right at about the 2.5 minute mark of the fire right now. So they get to the door and they get outside. They crawl until they get outside the front door. And then you should have a meeting place that everybody in the house knows. So if your kids escape on their own, maybe they go out the ladder using the escape ladder outside. This one, it's the tree out in the front place. This is where they would call 911 and tell them what happened. Okay, we can stop the video here. Oh, another thing about smoke alarms. Smoke alarms started in 1970. They have drastically reduced the number of deaths. And all new homes are required to have smoke alarms. As of last year, all new homes that are built in Las Vegas have to have automatic fire sprinklers in them. And it doesn't add to the cost of the house. It's minimal. The damage is actually confined. I was out of my house 6 months, $150,000 damage. I don't know why, I didn't see the slide. It was the bathroom fan that caught fire. We go on bathroom fan fires. Mine caused $150,000 fire. A week later, I went to a big office building here in town that had the same fan. It caught fire in the men's room at 2 a.m. in the morning. It caused $9 million damage and took them 13 months to repair that building because of a $29 fan. And the fan was one that I replaced. I constantly replace them. But the other thing I want to say is smoke alarms have to be replaced every 10 years, so there's a date stamped on them. You know how you look at your food and you're always worried about eating food that is expired? Smoke alarms expire too. So you add 10 years to the date that is stamped on the smoke alarm, and that's the date that it should be replaced. You have to replace it with the same smoke alarms that you have in your house. So people ask us all the time, what if I got wired in smoke alarms with a battery backup? Well, if you hire usually an electrical contractor, they will look up to see which alarm you're supposed to have, because over the years, they're like cars. Homes are like cars. 57 Chevys did not require seat belts. A Model T didn't require a seat belt. So if you drive down the street, cop can't give you a ticket for not wearing your seat belt. But over the years, as more safety devices were installed in homes, you have to replace them with the one that is required by the code at that time when your house was built. So now the new smoke alarms in homes actually have a carbon monoxide alarm built into them, and they talk to you. And even more sophisticated ones will tell you which room the fire is in. As you're going out, voices will talk to you along with the alarms, but they have to be replaced. So sometimes people will say, well, I got a wired-in smoke alarm. Can I take that out and just put a battery-operated one up there in place of it? No, the code says you got to have a wired-in one. If the light bulb burned out on the back of your car, you couldn't stick a flashlight up there. Cop's just not going to buy it. And the other one says, well, why does the fire department not replace the smoke alarms in our house? When your house was built, the builder came up with the codes, and it was approved by the city, the building code. It's part of the building code, not the fire department code, the building code. You have to maintain things. When light bulbs burn out in your house, you don't call NV Energy, do you? You go to the store and you buy a new light bulb and you replace it. Same thing with smoke alarms. You need to maintain them once every 10 years. Okay, so that's about the gist of it. I'm always available. If people call me, I'm always glad to answer questions, or if they come up with a special circumstance in their home, please give me a call at the fire department, not 911. And if you go on our webpage, lasvegasfire.org, it'll tell you how to contact me, or you can follow us on all the social media. I'm the social media spokesperson All of our pages are Las Vegas FD. And I'll post a lot of safety hints on there every day during the week about how you can prevent fires from being in your home. Okay? Does anybody have any questions?
One, two, here we go.
Yes, this is in reference to power strip and putting appliances on it. Were you referring to small appliances too? Because I have a little power strip and I put the NutriBullet and the, what is it?
You plug in what into it?
Huh?
What did you say you plug into the power strip?
Oh, a NutriBullet and a regular, what do you call it, mixer, you know, like little
Oh, those
appliances.
things? Yeah, but again, I would encourage you to spend maybe about $35 to $50 for a good one.
A good
Not-
power strip?
A good power strip.
So if I get a good one, then it's okay, kind of.
Yep, and you know, the other thing that I tell people, it can't catch fire if it's unplugged. So I encourage people to unplug items, especially if you're going to go away. If you're going away on vacation, go around and unplug as much as you can. I'm from Atlanta. We had lightning 2 out of every 3 days when we lived in Atlanta. And I was always afraid of power surges destroying everything in our home, which we did a couple of times, and even once here in Las Vegas, took out our hot tub in the backyard. If you unplug it, it can't get destroyed. So I know when we were going to work and they said there's going to be thunderstorms today, me and the wife would run around the house and unplug all the really valuable stuff. Have to reset the timers and that, but it's cheaper than replacing the equipment and that. But I encourage you, not the real inexpensive ones. I like to use the power strip at homes. That's where I got our telephone chargers plugged in too. And you know what I do when I charge my phones up at night while I'm sleeping, they're right next to my head. So that way if the kids call me or the grandkids or anything in the middle of the night, it'll wake me up. And then when I wake up, I got a fully charged phone. And then when I get up, I shut that power strip off. It is unbelievable how many times I go around and I see power cells that people got plugged into the wall. They unplug their phone, but they leave it plugged in. They leave it plugged into the wall. Well, you're making NV Energy a lot of money that way. And it's a fire risk. I see, unplug it. If you're not using it, unplug it. You're saving energy in the community, and you're preventing the second leading cause of fires, electrical related fires. The other thing is maintain your equipment, air conditioning equipment. Right now, before it gets cold, which is going to be not too far distant off, I would be taking advantage of the heating and air conditioning specialists that come in and look at your furnace and see if you got a cracked heat exchanger or the wiring is bad. Don't wait till the dead of winter and your furnace goes out, because they will rock you big time. And the same thing with the air conditioner. It's a good time, the winter is a good time to have them come in and go over your air conditioner. They're looking for work. And you want to make sure to wire. But we go on a lot of air conditioning calls. And now, I can tell you right now, probably within the next week, might be even this week, because we're supposed to be going in the 40s. The first time you start your furnace up, the heating elements has got dust and dirt and all kinds of stuff that came in. And you're going to get that smell, that burning smell. And you might even see a little bit of a white haze come out of the vents. That's not anything to get concerned of. That's just the stuff that's burning off the heaters. I don't know, I always it was the smell of winter coming. I thought it was cool when I was a kid. We lived in Ohio and it smelled up the house big time. And just let it burn off. I tell people, if you hear there's a cold snap coming, turn your furnace on and run it a couple of 3 times a couple of days before when it's still warm. During the day, open up the windows and doors, and that'll take that smell out of the house. It's just if really thick black smoke starts coming out, then you need to get out of the house and call 911. Let me say again, if your smoke alarms are going off in the middle of the night, I've had people have smoke alarms that go off in the middle of the night and they wait till the morning to wake us up. We are ready to go 24 hours a day. You shouldn't sleep in the middle of the night with your smoke alarms going off. If your smoke alarm is going off, there is a problem in your home. We have cameras that can see through walls. We're surgeons of a house. we can go in there and look at things and we can tell where it's coming from. It just might be a plastic spoon in the dishwasher. It could be a circuit board inside your computer. It could be a frayed wire in the attic. But that's what we do. And we don't get up in the middle of the night and say, they shouldn't have called us. I can't believe they called us. Or we don't go back and laugh and say, do you believe what those people had in their house? That is what we do. I don't know how many times we'll go to a fire and it'll cause a lot of damage. And when we start talking to the people, when did you start smelling this? I don't know, maybe a couple of 3 hours ago. You know, I felt something just wasn't right. That's when I want you to call. You don't want to go live in a hotel like we did. I'm going to tell you, we were out of our house 6 months, and I didn't know how bad it was until I had a fire. And then you move away to a strange place, and everything you own is gone. You don't take nothing with you. And it is as bad as having a death inside the family. And then the kids get really upset. You don't go out to eat. The insurance company supplies the money. You do the work. You hire the contractors. You get the permit. You arrange for the inspections. You are pulling your hair out. It is a nightmare. You think you have a fire in the house and they're calling us up, and 2 weeks later, are you guys back in your house yet? We haven't even found a contractor yet. We got to hire a contractor to come in here. And then the insurance company is going to give you the money. They're going to supply the money. But they're going to make you jump through hoops because all the I's and T's have to be dotted and crossed. Inspections, and inspectors, if it isn't set up right, the inspector says, I'm not going to do it. I'll come back next week. And all the time you're thinking, I want to go home. And your kids are up in the middle, and I can tell you right now, from practical experience, your kids will be crying every night in bed. And they will keep you up all night. They want to go home. I don't have my toys. And little things like the nail clippers. You go to the bathroom to get them. You don't have them. You don't want to have a fire. It is the worst thing that could happen in your life. Okay? And I think it's about, we have another question. Yes.
I just wanted to ask about smoke detectors. You said every 10 years, is that a magic number? Or if you test them and they're still okay? And also, if it's wired in, is that something I can do, or do I have to hire an electrician?
Unless you're an electrician, you don't want to do it because you're going to have to change the wiring out. It's probably not going to match the exact same version that you have up in the ceiling, so you're going to have to replace the little plug in the plate and that. I would advise you to get an electrician to do it. And then they should also know which smoke alarm you need. So again, whatever they have to look up, if they know what they're doing, they need to ask you what year your home was built to make sure that they are putting the code compliant, the building code compliant smoke alarm back up in your home that is required. Because if it isn't code compliant, when you try to go and sell your house, and if it isn't compliant, it could hold up the sale. They'll say, no, you're going to have to replace the smoke alarms. They're not up to code.
And if it's still testing okay, you still need...
So what happens with the smoke alarms, I wouldn't bank my life on it, so I just be safe, replace every 10 years. There's a little piece of radioactive material inside your phone, or inside the smoke alarm. It's less than what a glow-in-the-night wristwatch has. And actually what happens is it's ions from the combustion process, invisible, positive, negative, little neutrons and all that stuff, that are given off by the fire that sets that smoke alarm off. So that's why when people open up the oven in the kitchen and no smoke comes out, the smoke alarm goes off. And I go, why is the smoke alarm going off and there's no smoke? Well, the turkey was cooking and the cooking process was going on, and those ions escaped from that safe and they went into the atmosphere and went up into the ionization detector, and it set off the alarm. Combustion sets those ions into the atmosphere. There's another type of a photoelectric smoke alarm, which is getting more popular now, that has a little light, a beam of light in there, and when the smoke goes through it, it disrupts it and it sets it off. Well, you know how dirty everything gets here. So after 10 years, you're not going to be able to get in there and clean that light receptacle off. And radioactive material decays by 1/2 every day. So they calculated and says after about 10 years, there shouldn't be enough radioactive material in there to set the ionization detector off. It's safer just to replace it. And the technology is good. You probably got the smoke alarm that's in your house that was put in 10 years ago is probably an iPhone 4. You want the iPhone 13 in your house. So whenever you go and buy and replace it in the store 10 years later, the technology in that one is going to be better than that one.
Does anyone else have any questions right here?
Yeah, one up in the front here.
Okay. We have an electric car, and we have it plugged in our in the garage and everything. But my husband also has a lot of like tools and et cetera, et cetera. So we have the electric cars plugged into a thing, but I think that's plugged into like a surge protector. Should be plugged into an actual wall unit, or?
You need to follow the direction. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'll be 100% honest with you. The fire departments are out to lunch. This is a new area. And when we go to a car on fire, an electrical vehicle on fire, that's like going to an electrical substation fire. Sometimes it takes hours to put it out. Another new area is when we go to a fire, the first thing when we go to your house, the first thing that we do is we shut off the utilities to your house because we don't want firefighters getting electrocuted. We don't want to have a gas explosion. So one team will immediately shut off all utilities to the house, and that's why they're all centrally located on the side of your house. There's a main shut off, the gas can be shut off, and everything. A new area for us is solar cells. We can't shut them off. There is a switch where we can shut the power off going into the house, but if we go up to the roof to cut a hole in the roof, those things are still making electricity. We can't shut them off. And we cut the hole in the roof because smoke wants to go straight up. So you saw how it was going out. It's going out hallways and everything. If I cut a hole right over the bedroom where the fire is, the smoke and heat's going to want to go up, and that's going to save all the rest of the house. But now we got solar cells up there, and we tell our people, you got to be really careful because water is a conductor of electricity, and they're up there with fire hoses, and they're messing around with high voltage electricity. And it's the same thing with these vehicles. It's a new area for us, and we're all still trying to figure it out. Plugging it in, that's why it's in the garage. If you got a fire in the garage, don't open that door going out there to the garage. Keep it closed and just get away from the house and let the fire department come in there. But as far as what do you plug it into and and all this and that, it should be in your owner's manual in your car. Because they're going to want to do everything that they can, because if something happens, you're going to go get an attorney. I can tell you from our house fire, we sued and we won. So all of our we sued the fan manufacturer, and we won. So they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that if there's a lot of damage, they want to prevent that from happening. So make sure you read the section on how it's supposed to be plugged in and what it's supposed to be plugged into, which I'm not familiar with electric cars, but there might be a special plug or a special circuit. You might have to have a separate circuit breaker put in for it or something. But make sure that you follow it to the T.
Any other questions? Okay. Tim Szymanski with the Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, thank you again for your work in the community and for this great presentation today. And thank you all again for coming. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.